giving me instructions, which I don't understand at all. And she hands me this little package or this little square flat thing wrapped in plastic. And she's gesturing toward where the shower is behind the bamboo screen. And I said, "Oh, you want me to take a shower?" And I kind of motioned, and she's like, "No, no, no, no." And then she leaves the room.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Wandering Works for Us. We are Shelley and Beth, a married couple living in Portugal and traveling the world. These are our stories. Bon dia, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Beth.
And we are Wandering Works for Us. And today we're going to do part 2 of our road trip where we take you to Guimarães.
I'm sorry, you should call that our epic road trip.
I'm sorry, it was an epic road trip. It was indeed epic.
It was very epic.
Yes, so last week we told you all about going into the Hotel Palacio de Posaco and having lunch, and then we went to Braga, and we absolutely Braga'd and loved it.
We did.
And then on one of our days that we were in Braga, we took a side trip over to Guimarães.
Very good.
Saying it correctly?
Yes.
Go me!
Guimarães. Yeah, that was we knew it was going to be a cool town because we'd seen some pictures and we'd had some recommendations, but I don't think we were prepared for how utterly cool it was.
Yes.
We really liked it.
And unfortunately for us, my knee was acting up pretty badly. And it's hard to walk on cobblestones and up hills and down hills and climb stairs when your knee really hurts. So we didn't spend as much time there as we wanted to, and we didn't get to see everything that we wanted to. But we'll tell you what we did see, which was a house. We saw the House of Dukes.
Yeah, it's called a palace.
The Palace of Dukes.
Yes.
And we walked around Old Town, and we saw the cathedral.
We did. And we also walked on the wall.
Right.
That used to protect the town.
So when you come into town, because we drove in with our car, and we were going to just find a place to park, which actually parking was not as hard as we thought it was going to be. Or no. I always think parking is going to be hard. That is my anxiety, is the parking. But parking was not nearly as hard as we thought it was going to be. We just parked up on a side road. But that church that we came in, do you remember what the name of that church is?
It's the Nossa Senhora de Consolação Church.
Oh, okay. So that
isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm
taking your word for it.
Okay.
That beautiful church is right there kind of in the middle of the city, and then there are gardens that separate the roads that go in and out, I guess, from right there. And it's beautiful, but if you come back all the way to the end of the garden, that's where the main old part kind of begins. So when we came in, we drove right by it. We're like, oh, that's beautiful. We got to go in there. We did not.
As you said, your knee hurt, but we will next time.
We were on a mission to go up. I wanted to go see the castle. There is a castle in Guimarães. And this place is known for, it is the birthplace of Portugal because Dom Alfonso Henrique, and I probably totally mispronounced that, but he was the first king of Portugal, and he was born here. And so I wanted to go see the castle because I believe that's where he lived or was born or was part of it. But we didn't make it that far up the hill. But there is a wall that you can walk up.
Yeah.
And follow the city wall all the way, well, not quite all the way, but to part where you can get off and then take the rest of the road up to the castle. And so, but on your way to the castle is the House of Dukes. Or is it the Palace of Dukes?
I believe it is the Palace of Dukes.
The Palace of Dukes, which was really cool.
It had period appropriate furniture and rugs and tapestries on the walls.
And weaponry.
And paintings and all of that. I don't believe that all of it is authentic to that actual location, but it is all period appropriate. And so it was really interesting to be able to walk through and kind of imagine how they lived.
It did feel like you were going through a medieval chateau.
Yes.
You know, that people lived there. Because
Yes.
it was square, but there was a garden. Well, not really a garden, but like an area in the middle, an open area. And the halls took you to each room that you would go through. And, of course, there was, you know, a small eating nook, and then the grand hall, and then somebody's bedroom, and, you know, storage place for stuff, weaponry.
Remember, there was a room just off the grand hall, the banquet hall, where it was called the Room of Chests, I think, and that's where they stored all the silver.
See,
and there were all these
whole room for just silver,
and there were all these chests in there with drawers and things where they stored all the silver.
It was a really neat place.
Yeah.
We didn't spend as much time in there as we could have, but I would definitely go back with somebody that wanted to see that.
Yes, in
I'd
fact,
spend more time.
we're going to do that in January.
When Eli comes.
Yes.
Hey, Eli.
When my son is here.
Yeah, so we'll go back and see that again. Do you remember how much it costs to get in? We may not remember how much it costs to get in, but we would recommend that you buy your tickets online and skip the line, because the line did get really long and really slow to get inside.
It did, but hot tip or pro tip, the line that forms, that comes out the door, if you will, where the ticket office is also just beyond that where you enter. So if you've bought your tickets online, you can say, excuse me, or whatever your language is.
Con licenza.
And then get past those people and don't stand in the line. Once you get past that doorway, you can, you know.
Yeah, you'll go up and somebody will scan your ticket
Yeah.
on your phone, and then you
So-
get to. It's not a guided tour. It was a self walkthrough tour, and they had a little rack at the beginning of each door that had what was in the room printed on these sheets, and they had it in Spanish and in Portuguese and English and
French. Yeah.
And so you could grab one of the little laminated sheets and read about what was in the room.
Yeah. It identified the paintings. And on the back, it showed the painting and who did it. Or a lot of them were unknown painters on those. I thought that was interesting. Somehow it didn't get passed down, or I'm not sure, but a lot of them, it said the painter was unknown.
Yeah. And when you're done with the House of Dukes, if you go out and head further up the hill, you can go into the castle. But by that time, my knee was hurting pretty bad, so we headed back down the hill to, I think, my favorite part of Guimarães.
Yes.
Guimarães was the old town.
Yeah.
Because it just felt so old, and it was so beautiful.
It looked a little bit like Diagon Alley.
It kind of did.
Yeah.
It felt just, like a medieval village to me. And you walk down the cobblestone streets and it comes out into a plaza where the cathedral is.
Yes, and I did confirm. Oh, no, that's a different cathedral. The one we were talking about early, before you enter that area at where the gardens are that we saw first, I did confirm that is the Nossa Senhora de Consolação.
Yeah, okay. So that's a different place. That's
Yes,
a different church.
but I definitely will go there when we're there next time.
Yes. The plaza that's in front of the cathedral, you go down Rua Santa Maria, and that's basically the road that came from the castle area down to the plaza. And then there's lots of restaurants and shops in that area. And it just opens up, and you can see that there are people that are living on the upper parts of buildings, and the shops are lower, and some people were out there busking, I think, at one point. And, we just sat out and had a drink that afternoon, the first afternoon we were there, and watched the people go by. And you can go into the cathedral from there, too. But it's right there kind of in the middle. It's really easy to find once you know where you're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we kind of circled back around to it because we were like, ooh, that looks like fun. Let's go that way. And I would recommend hanging out there for a little while.
Yeah. We actually ate a meal there in that square as well.
We ate 2 meals in that square.
We did. One on this trip that we're talking about and another one later in our trip when we were coming back.
What happened was we were coming back from Spain and we had planned to go to a different little town. And have lunch. And I was driving and wasn't really paying attention to where we were going. And I ended up getting off on the exit to go back to Guimarães. And so I was like, well, I wanted to go back anyway because my knee was hurting the first time. Let's go back and look at some more.
So we had lunch there that day.
We had lunch there that day. And that's when we got to see the cathedral.
Yes.
And it costs €2 to get in, and it doesn't take you long to go through it. But like any cathedral that we've seen, it was really cool. I like this one because it had the statues of the apostles lined up on the sides of the nave.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That was cool. It was overall this whole town that old area and everything. It was, as I say a lot of times, it was just so charming.
It was really charming. And we want to go back. We're going to take Eli back there.
Yes, there's also the Serra Penha, and you can take a cable car, right? Isn't that where you was?
Car.
You can take a cable car up the mountain, and there's a church up there, because of course there is, and it's supposed to be an incredible view from there. A lot of people go up and, mill around and take pictures. You can also drive up the mountain if you put it into your GPS.
Yeah. We didn't opt to do that because, tired and hurting.
Yeah, and there's 2 or 3 other churches I want to see.
Plus, Beth doesn't like heights. She wasn't going to get on the cable car. So,
I was not.
No.
I was not at all.
So after we left Braga in the morning, we headed north to, my first trip to Spain.
Yes.
We've been here for a year and I haven't even been into Spain yet. So this is my first trip to Spain. This was Beth's second trip to Spain. She'd been down in the Algarve and went into Spain. And so we are going to a city called Ourense. Now, we had originally planned to go to the Santiago de Compostela, which is the pilgrimage site on the end of the Camino trail. But my knee was hurting and I didn't want to climb steps. So we just went into Ourense. Why did we choose Ourense?
Because it is a town with many, many thermal springs.
Which sounds so great to me because I love to sit in hot water.
Yes.
But not in the middle of summer.
Well,
it actually wasn't bad at all.
It was still cool. But yeah, before we talk about the hot springs, let's talk a little bit about Ourense. First of all, we found a really good hotel to stay in, and you can put that in the show notes. I'm not remembering what the name of it is.
NH Ourense or something like that.
Yeah, I believe that's right. And it was about a 10-minute walk to the Old Town area.
10 to 12, I would say. We were walking slow.
And that Old Town area is really interesting.
That was beautiful.
There were less tourists in Ourense than I think there were anywhere else we went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like we were the only tourists there. We probably weren't.
I'm sure we weren't.
Like we were.
Yeah. It was very much full of locals. There is a gorgeous cathedral there in the Old Town that we actually didn't go in. We weren't there when it was open during the day. And we went down there for drinks a couple of nights. We had a couple of good meals. And we really liked the Old Town area. The only problem is we have been working so hard on Portuguese. And even though some people will say Portuguese and Spanish are similar,
they are not.
I think they hear it as very different.
It is different.
And boy, howdy, did that get driven home with me on this trip.
Yes.
Because I could not understand a word that they were saying in Spanish. None of the words I knew in Spanish kicked in. None of it sounded like Portuguese. I mean, it sounded so different.
It was very different.
Plus, it was that area of Spain where the accents, there's a real strong regional dialect, I think, there. But anyway, so
I could pick up a little bit.
It was hard, man.
Yeah, stop and freeze because every bit of Spanish that I had learned in the past was kind of gone. I'd pushed it out of the way to learn Portuguese. So when someone asked me, like, what do you want to eat? Diga. And I'd be like, food.
Yeah.
Comida, por favor.
And not a lot of people spoke a lot of English.
No,
either.
They did not.
Not nearly as much as we find in the areas where we've been in Portugal.
Yes.
So I think it's low tourist there, and so they don't have to, or they don't practice it much. But nonetheless, we did enjoy the Old Town area.
We did, very much. Now, one of the main reasons that we were going was to visit the hot springs. Ourense is known for their thermal springs, and they have a river that runs through it. I believe it's the Miño River. And along the river, they have these different places where the thermal springs come up. And they've built little I wouldn't call them tide pools. They're little pools that you can go and sit. And they're free to the public along
and they're
this
usually
river.
Stone.
And they're
of some
stone,
kind.
and they're clean, and there's a place to change. And they're well known in this area because lots of people were visiting these thermal pools.
Yes.
And so you can do the free ones if you want to, but there is a spa located there that we were going to try out because we were like, yes, spa day.
Yes. And it's private. You pay to get in.
$6.50?
€6.30 or something, yeah. Plus the cost of our massage.
Right. So we decided to do that because they also they advertised a sushi restaurant along with it. So we're like, yeah, we'll do thermal spas, we'll have sushi, we'll get a massage. It'll be a whole great spa day. And it was a little different than we had expected.
It was.
Well, number one, the cafe does not serve sushi, just so you know. They do have some daily specials that are pretty good.
And there was some comment at the bottom of the menu about arrange for sushi ahead of time or something. I don't know. It
was in Spanish, so
Yeah, there was something, and by that time we were so hot and tired, I didn't even bother to translate it. But there was something about sushi on the bottom of the menu where you could do it for private parties or I don't know, something.
And so to use these thermal spas, you of course have to fill out paperwork asking about your medical history and your medications that you might be on and all of this. And so we had to talk with the lady about, what was safe to do.
Thankfully, she spoke great English.
She did speak great English.
She was she was the one we talked to that whole time in Ourense that spoke great English.
That spoke great English,
yeah.
Yes. Everybody else was it was broken. It was different. But then you have a changing room you can go back into. You could store all your stuff. You were expected to bring a bathing suit and flip-flops and your towel. And they want you to, of course, shower completely off. No sunscreen in this place. They want to keep their waters clean as they possibly can. Now, these are chlorinated. The other natural ones that are free to the public are not chlorinated.
Correct.
But these were. And they had different pools where you could sit, and they had a circuit called the Celtic Circuit, and they had waterfalls, and it bubbled up like a hot tub.
There was more movement in the water.
There was a lot of movement in the water. And then they had a circuit called the Zen, which didn't. It was just a very gentle pool that you could sit in. Now, granted, remember, it is 36 degrees outside, and these pools are anywhere between 37 and 40 degrees of water.
Yes. Now, there were two cold, I'm going to call them cold pools, but they were a welcome thing at the time.
Yes, because it was hot. So even though I was so excited to finally be able to sit in some warm water, because since we've moved to Portugal, we don't have a bathtub that I can sit in and relax. We don't have a hot tub. The ocean is cold. It is cold, people. And so I was excited about sitting in some hot water, but I wasn't that excited about sitting in hot water on a hot day. But it was nice, though.
It was still nice. It was. I don't even think we kind of thought about that ahead of time.
We did not.
It's not like it dawned on us until we were sitting in the hot water and we were sweating. And then we're like, we can't stay in here too long. But it was lovely experience for my first time to be in those kinds of pools.
And I would love to go back and say February or March or sometime when the weather is cooler. And sitting in something hot like that would be really nice.
And I guess in colder weather, they actually steam.
They probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a couple of pools, or maybe 3, that were inside, if you will. They had a roof and a glass wall. And then there were the majority of them were actually outside, and you were looking, they're built out of stone, and as we said, some of them have waterfalls, and you're looking out onto the mountain where they're situated. It's quite lovely.
Yeah, right next to the river. It's a beautiful view, and it's I will say it's relaxing. But for the most part, there were no children. There were some teenagers maybe, but no children. There's no running and screaming like at a pool. Even at one point in the inside pools when people were talking too loudly, a guy came around and told them they had to be quiet. So it's meant to be a very relaxing situation.
Yes.
That being said, so we decided you get 2 hours with your €6.50 or whatever it was to be in the pools. And then we decided we were going to sign up for massages too. Now, the earliest I think we could get a massage was maybe 4:30 or something, but we decided 5:30. So it'd give us 5 o'clock. So it'd give us time to go sit in the pools and have our little relaxed time, come up, get something to eat for lunch, and then be ready to go for our massage. And Beth was thinking, well, 2 hours is not long enough. It's long enough. It's long enough to be in those pools.
It really was. I mean, now if you wanted to really sit and I'm going to say simmer, and because it was colder, you might fill up your 2 hours.
Yeah. But even health wise, they don't want you to sit in a hot tub that long.
Yeah, that long. So, but it was good.
Yeah.
So then came our massages.
Yes. So we go down a few minutes before our designated time, and we can hear the women speaking in the back, and they're talking to each other and doing whatever. And so we're thinking at any moment someone will come out and acknowledge us. And it wasn't until it was time for us to go back to those women said anything to us at all. Not how your stay, you guys doing okay, you enjoy. Because number one, they did not speak English. Well, one of them did a little bit. And I guess that's just how it is. It's like, okay, it's time for your massage. Come. Let's go.
Yes.
And so we go back to our massages. And one girl speaks some English, not very much. And the other one does not speak any at all.
And I got her.
Which, in hindsight, I should have taken her because I would understand her a little bit.
Yeah.
But you did not stand her at all, did you?
No. And she kept trying to talk to me too. And I mean, it's understandable. I do the same thing to people here when they're, when I know they know a little English and I talk to them and they're telling me they don't understand. I just talk more, thinking it's ridiculous what you do. But anyway,
so I just want to give our audience a heads up. This is the PG-13 part of the story.
Yes, if you have young ears listening to this, you might want to skip over it. I mean, it's not like we're going to
pause and do this another day.
Yeah. So I go in the room with my person, and there's a massage table, and there's a shower behind a bamboo screen, and there's even this tub. It looks like a big wine barrel that is obviously used for some treatments or something. I mean, it was a fairly decent sized room. And she is telling me, she's giving me instructions, which I don't understand at all. And she hands me this little package or this little square flat thing wrapped in plastic. And she's gesturing toward where the shower is behind the bamboo screen. And I said, oh, you want me to take a shower? And I kind of motioned, and she's like, no, 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 no. And then she leaves the room. And I'm like, okay. Well, I've had, I don't know, about 1 million massages in my life. I get them regularly. And so, I know the drill. I undress and get on the table and all of that. But I don't know what this thing is in my hand. So I open it and I'm still not real sure what it is. So I see Shelley's person leaving out of her room. I hear her and I said, oh, excuse me, because I knew she spoke a little English. What is this? What do I do with this? Well, it turns out that it's and this is why we said cover your young ears or your young one's ears. I'm going to call it a hoochie cover. It was my hoochie cover, but
get your hoochie cover.
I know, but the string around it, it was not adjustable anyway. You didn't tie it or anything. It was a fixed string, and it was made for a 12-year-old body. It was not made.
I think you got the small side.
It was not made for me, for sure. And so I wrestle this thing on, and the string I got just to like the tops of my legs, and it is gripping me like its life depends on it. And it's just a little thin string, so it hurt, It was so weird. So then I'm like, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. So I got onto the table. And do you want me to just keep telling my experience?
Your story.
So she starts massaging me. And again, I have a lot of massage. And I like somebody with a very heavy touch. Somebody who really massages, underneath those shoulder blades and all that. And she was barely touching me. It was almost like a rub down. So we did that a little bit. And then she told me to turn over. And I have varicose veins. And she saw my veins and kind of freaked out. She was like, no. I mean, I think what she said was, because the word no was in there and she was pointing, is, I don't massage veins. I don't massage varicose veins. And I was trying to tell her, I get it's okay. I do it all the time. And she kind of freaked out and sort of finished my massage and then left the room. Like about 15 minutes early. It was so weird. So I went ahead and got dressed and went out to wait on Shelley, who was, another 15 minutes. And now you can pick up the story.
Yeah, so my massage was also very different. Now, in America, when you get a massage, you go into the room, and the room is made up basically like a bed. You've got a bottom sheet, you got a top sheet, sometimes you've got a blanket. You're crawling under full covers. Here in Europe, in our experience, it is not that at all. You get a towel to cover up with. Sometimes it's a large kind of beach towel. Sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's a hand towel,
Sometimes
which is what we had this time. And also no music, no none of that. It was no scented candle.
No. And my towel was a little bit bigger, but of course, it didn't cover, everything that it needed to, or didn't need to, I don't know. So I'm getting my massage, and my massage is also quite sensual. It's not a hard rub down that we're used to,
mine wasn't sensual at all. She said also mine wasn't sensual, but yours was.
Yes, I would say mine was sensual because she wasn't working any muscles. It was just basically a rub down. However, there were some places that she decided to get into that most massage therapists don't touch. And I'm still on my front, at this point. And so eventually she tells me to turn over. And when she does, it's the usual. She holds up the towel and I turn over and she puts it on top of me. And then she puts another towel on top of my breast, my chest area. And then she starts her massage on my feet and my legs again, which she went a little further up than I expected her to. And for a moment, I'm thinking, is this a happy ending massage? Because I'm not prepared for that. Spoiler alert, it was not. But anyway.
As her wife, I was not prepared for that either.
So she starts to move to the top, after she's done with the legs, and she moves the towel out of the way, and she starts to rub my tummy. Well, I'm very ticklish. Very ticklish. So she starts to rub, and I start giggling, and she's like, she says in Spanish, "Are you ticklish?" And I was like, "See." She starts to rub a little bit harder. At that point, I'm like, great, I'm going to have to go to the bathroom after this. Well, she moves further up my chest and removes the towel that was on my breast and proceeds to give me a full-on breast massage with both hands. It
wasn't just a little delicate thing around the edges.
No, it wasn't my pecs, and my upper chest. Like I've had that touched before. No, this was a full-on, let me take care of your breast massage. And I froze. Because in America, this does not happen, like, ever. Like, I have to ask for them to rub my butt under the sheet.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to ask for certain things. And I was a bit thrown because, once again, I'm like, oh, crap, happy ending? No. Because, I've seen stuff on the internet. Yeah. This is how stuff gets started. Luckily, nothing got started. When she finished, she covered me back up and said, "Okay, done now," and walked out the room. So afterwards, I'm coming out, and Beth says, "I need a drink."
I wanted to stop at the cafe upstairs and have a drink before we left.
"I need to tell you about this experience." And I'm like, "You want to have a drink here?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, sure." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So we go upstairs to the cafe and order a couple beers. And she tells me her experience. And I was like, now I got to tell you mine. And I didn't want to tell the story because I didn't want her to march back down there and start yelling at that poor little girl.
Yes, dear listeners. She was afraid her wife would march downstairs and tell the woman off.
I was like, I need to get her out of here before she hears it.
I did not.
So that was our European experience with massages in Spain.
Yes, but we should say that we have massage here in Portugal all the time.
Yeah,
and we've never had a weird experience like that.
Not like that.
So
the bed's not made like in America. It is just a towel.
But it's not like.
But she's trying to hurt me kind of thing. It's not.
Well, and it's also not put on this paper thing that only fits your one thigh.
That's true.
And that kind of stuff. It was none of that. So I am not prepared to say this is a very small sample size, if you will. So I'm not prepared to say that it is like that anywhere else in Europe, but it probably is, and we just don't know it.
Yeah, we're just, Americans getting used to the culture.
Yeah. So it was quite the experience.
It was definitely the experience.
Okay, so the time that you have to keep the little one's ears covered is over.
Yeah, we're done with that story.
Tell them about the restaurant where we cooked our meat.
Oh, that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't remember the name of the restaurant. Beth's probably going to look it up right now.
I am while you're telling the story.
But we were wanting some meat and potatoes, basically, for dinner. I guess we had worked up our appetite after that.
Yeah.
And we found this restaurant in town that served steaks, beef. And so we go there. And our experience in Portugal especially is, you hit a meat restaurant, you're going to eat a lot of meat. There's going to be different kinds of cuts that you can order, pork and beef. And so they had one on the menu that said, it was almost like a Florentine steak. It was like a giant T-bone that was almost 2 kilos, I think. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Or almost 2 kilos.
Yeah, it was 1 point something.
Huge. And we could, eat that. And so as we're ordering it, I tell him, okay, so rare, medium rare, how do you cook it? And his English is not so great either, but he tries his best to explain that basically they'll, grill it in the back for a few minutes and then bring it out. And I was like, okay, that's fine. No big deal. Well, what I didn't understand was, and I don't know if Beth, did you understand this part too?
No, I did not.
Is what they're going to do is they're going to sear it on both sides of the steak in the kitchen. And then they're going to cut it up in pieces, bring it out to your table, and you get to cook it in a pan in an iron skillet at your table.
Yeah, on a little camp cooker. It wasn't that, but a little electric cooker thing.
No, it was one burner gas cooker.
Yeah,
is what it was. And so he brings it out and starts it up and brings the plate and brings all of our things that go with it. And we're just kind of sitting there like, what do we do now? And we waited and the pan starts to smoke. And, I'm like, this is not safe. This is not good. And finally we flag him down and we're like, are we supposed to cook this? And he's like, yes. Like, we know what we're doing. Right. And so I'm like, okay, I start putting meat on the plate. Well, I should have used some of the fatty parts to kind of oil the pan up first. I wasn't thinking because, suddenly things were smoking. I'm like, we need to start cooking things now. And so eventually they came out and changed the pan on us because we were smoking up the restaurant.
We were. But they were very kind about it.
Oh, they were very sweet about it. And, we were there for over an hour trying to eat all of this meat because it was way too much for us to eat. But it was very good. Highly recommend if you ever have a chance to do that.
The meat was excellent.
Yes, it was very good quality.
It was really good.
We had way more than we needed, of course, and the waiter was amazing. The service was really good, and the wine was excellent.
Oh, yeah. What did we have?
Some sort of Ribeira wine. I don't know what it was, but it was really good.
That was one of the things about Spain is the wine was
The wine was very
excellent.
Good in Spain.
Oh, and tell them about your new drink that you like.
Oh, the Radler?
Yeah.
The Radler, which is basically a shandy, but they don't have them very much here in Portugal that we found. We did find that Sagres puts one out, but it's, lemonade and beer mixed. But in Spain, they have this one called Be Lemon, and it was divine. Like I could just chug that stuff, which is not good, but it was only 2%. And luckily,
and they had it on tap.
They had it on tap.
Okay, the name of this restaurant that we're talking about where we did the meat is Milongas. It's probably gas. Milongas in Spanish. Parrillada Ourense. Parrillada. Parrillada.
It's 2 L's. It's going to be a Y.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yada.
Milongas Parrillada. No, is that 2 L's?
Yeah, it's 2 L's.
Parrillada.
Oh, boy. Ourense.
Milongas Parrillada Ourense.
We'll link it in the show notes.
Yes.
Because if you go there and you want some meat, it was really very, very good.
It was an excellent meal, definitely. Most of the food we had in Ourense was pretty good.
Yes.
We had sushi. We had some appetizers. We had paella at the spa, which was, it was pretty good. It's not the best paella I ever had, and I was a little lightheaded because, my blood pressure was up not because of the massage, but because of the hot tub.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
The food was good. The food was great in Braga.
Yeah.
Before that. And so I don't think we had food that was quite that good there, but it was still good. But the wine wasn't incredible.
Yeah, the wine was good.
Yeah, and
Spanish wines are good.
And it helped that the person at the front desk at our hotel said, let me tell you which wines you're looking for here for the local wines. And he wrote them down for us. So that helped. We knew what to get.
All right. Well, is there anything else about Ourense that we would like to say?
I don't think so. We have so much of Spain to explore. We are not ever going to do it middle of July to the middle of September.
Nope.
But we are going to Barcelona in February.
Yes.
Or maybe March. And we're going to check that out. And there's just a ton of places to go that we want to check out. But
Yep.
this was our first foray into Spain.
Yes. And it was lovely. All right. So next podcast, I believe we're going to go back into Portugal. Yay. And go to Aveiro.
Yes.
One of our favorite places. We've
It
been
is.
there a couple times, and this time we stayed a night or two there too.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, is there anything else?
I don't think so.
I think that's it. So, as always, thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe. Hit us up on our social media accounts. We love you for it. And, of course, there's a link in the show notes if you would like to buy us gin and tonic and help sponsor our podcast. So, that's it.
I think it is. So
That's
we'll
it.
say boa tarde.
Boa tarde. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you would like to reach out to us or ask questions, you can find us on our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can also follow us at our website, www.forus.com. That's www.forus.com. Hope to hear from you soon. Obrigada!